Gotta stop jaywalking. Okay, so it's 6:30 a.m. and I'm in the eternal city of Rome. And I'm gonna try to cover the best spots in Rome in this jam-packed day. So I just spent the last 2 hours walking around the streets of Rome, just taking in the city. And I started from my hostel, went all the way to the Victor Emanuele monument, which I believe was built by the first king when he unified the modern country of Italy back in the 1860s. Now if you're visiting Rome, I would strongly recommend doing this walk on at least one morning, right after the sun rises, and seeing the city streets. Because of course it's the golden hour and that soft rich light makes everything look super pretty, but you can get that during the sunset too. The cool thing about heading out at sunrise is that you get to see the streets of Rome without the mobs of tourists that you see at any other time of the day. I think that's a pretty cool experience. So it's 8:30 a.m. right now and I just tried my first ever Italian espresso. Right now I'm heading to the Church of St. Peter in Chains, which is right next to the Colosseum. And this famous church has a very famous piece of work by a very special artist. So I'm at the Church of St. Peter in Chains, which is only a couple hundred yards away from the Colosseum. Not a lot of people know about this place because the Colosseum is mobbed by tourists any time of the day. But if you come here at the right time of the day like I did, you can get to enjoy one of Michelangelo's most famous masterpieces in complete silence and appreciate that art. And of course Michelangelo is one of the more famous artists from the Renaissance, and a lot of people know him for being the guy that painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. What a lot of people don't know is that he definitely preferred sculpting to painting, which is pretty amazing for someone who painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. I read the reason for which he preferred sculpting to painting was a deeply philosophical one and a pretty cool one. So unlike creating something on an empty canvas from scratch like Leonardo da Vinci did, he preferred sculpting because he believed that was a more humble form of art. And he was revealing something in the marble that was already there in the first place. It's funny, these little kids just saw me vlogging and they're asking me if I have a channel on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, I do, but not a lot of people really watch this stuff. Anyways, back to a fun fact about Michelangelo. A lot of people don't know that a lot of his sculptures that you see now didn't really have the loincloths when he made them. So those were added after he passed away by the church or the Vatican or Rome because they thought it was inappropriate to have sculptures of holy figures with their junk hanging out. If you know about a sculpture called a Risen Christ, which is in another church by the Pantehon, that was originally a nude sculpture of Jesus Christ and they added that loincloth at a later date. Okay. So after waiting for an hour, despite getting a ticket in advance, finally managed to get in the Colosseum. And it's insane that 2,000 years after that massive venue was built, you can to this day go to the same stands where ancient Romans went and watch gladiators fight till death. Something really cool about the gladiators that I didn't know until this trip, these gladiators had lives that were very similar to the ones of pro athletes in the US, let's say today. They had groupies apparently. They were the biggest celebrities in town, and I think the funniest part to me was that they also had product endorsements in ancient Rome. Right now I'm at the Roman Forum, and the bells that you hear going off in the distance are, I think, from the Temple of Rome and Venus, also known as the Temple of Roma and Amor. So the Roman Forum used to be a pretty important part of ancient Rome. It was host to the fancy parades that happened when a dictator from Rome won a big war overseas. So the victor would ride through in this parade with their 4-horse chariot. With him would be the slaves, who would be the people he conquered, along with exotic animals from the places he conquered. So there would be lions and elephants and hippos in these parades apparently. Behind me, way back there, that's the Arch of Titus. So this arch was built after Titus won the war against Judea or ancient Israel. And that was actually the last time that a political Jewish state existed in 70 AD until the modern state of Israel was created after World War II.
It's around 3 p.m. right now, and I am in front of the Pantheon. So the Pantheon is the best preserved temple from the Roman era where pagan gods are worshipped. And the reason behind that is that right after they stopped worshipping pagan gods in here, they turned it into a normal church where they worship Jesus, and it's continued to be one to this day. This one's also free entry, so make sure you visit the Pantheon whenever you visit Rome. Pro tip, don't try to sit down in there. You know, when I tried to sit down and take a picture of the roof, and they made me get up, and that was pretty embarrassing. It's mid-afternoon right now, so I think it's time for another cup of coffee. So I just did a 4-hour ride with free bike tour room, and I strongly recommend doing that if you're visiting Rome. I think this is the coolest thing. Hey guys. I think this is the coolest thing I've done in Rome so far. The guy Lorenzo was super cool. He showed us some of the coolest things in Rome that I didn't even know you could see the things. He took us to the coolest spots to see the Colosseum, the Forum, the very touristy things that most people usually see, but just from a much better viewpoint. And the best part is, it's free. I mean, you can tip, most people did, but there's no pressure for doing that. And not only that, he also took us to the best pizza shops, the cheapest pizza places, the places where you can get the cheapest beer, the cheapest coffee and festivity. So I cannot think of a reason for which you should skip the free bike tour room. I'll provide a link for their Facebook page and TripAdvisor and everything else down in the description. So I've been in Rome for more than 48 hours now, and somehow I've managed to avoid getting pizza, which is probably the most famous thing about Rome, aside from coffee and wine. One of the reasons I still haven't had pizza yet is because everywhere I've been to, the pizza is super expensive. But finally, I think Lorenzo recommended a place to me which looks really good and also looks affordable. So no offense to American pizza, I really love it, but I think that right there was as good as the best pizza I've ever had. Definitely gonna be coming back there. The way they were serving it was interesting too. They had like one big pizza, which is a rectangle, and they were like cutting it up with scissors and serving me just as much as I wanted and then weighing it. So I've never seen that before. It's probably because I've never been to Europe before. The best part was, after I had the pizza, I was asking them what's like a good local place to get coffee around here. And they told me where to go. They pulled out a map, highlighted the path where I need to go, just gave me the map. So that's where I'm going right now to get some hopefully cheap coffee that's also local coffee. Okay, so I never found the coffee place that I was looking for, but while I was looking for it, I found another good place that had espresso for €1, and I was like, why not? An interesting thing about getting food and getting coffee in Italy is that the price of things go up when you sit down at a table. So the same coffee that's €1 when you get it at the bar or at the table becomes €2 when you sit down at a table and get it. I've never seen anything like that, at least in the US. So obviously this is still not the same day as I had intended it to be when I started doing this vlog. But in my defense, what happened yesterday was, after I had my second cup of coffee, I think that was around 3:30, I went back to my hostel to grab a charger or something, and I was so tired and so jet lagged that I completely crashed. So there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to do yesterday, but I couldn't because I fell asleep in the afternoon. So I thought it was only fair that I do those things today in that same time span of 4 hours and put it on the vlog as well. And I'm pretty confident that everything you're gonna see in this video, you can do it all in one day. Everything minus the free bike tour. That's 4 hours. I don't think you can fit everything else I'm doing and that. Now I'm gonna move on to the next destination, which is the Capitoline Hill Museums. Also the oldest museums in the world. No.
Oh, it's gone.
So I gotta like approach it more steadily next time. Oh, no. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hi, birdie. So I just got out of Capitoline Hill Museums, and I believe this museum is the oldest museum in the world. And it's right next to the Roman Forum. Make sure you visit here if you have the chance to visit. It's not free entry, it's like 15 or 13 euros depending on whether you're a student or not. I think it's very much worth the money. The most famous piece of work in this museum is probably the statue by Michelangelo, which if I zoom in, you can see that in the background right there. I like to call it the Old Spice Man statue, but obviously that's not the real name. That's not even the real statue actually. The original sculpture from Michelangelo is inside the museum. It used to be where this replica is right now, but they moved that there a few decades ago so they can preserve it better from pollution. There are two more pieces of work in this museum that are my favorite and are very special to me. And to tell you why, I'm gonna have to backtrack 2 decades and tell you a little story. So I had to get away from that spot because a bunch of kids showed up behind me and they were yelling and all. But back to my story. So back in 2nd grade, I had my first ever history book for elementary school. And this was way before I knew who Michelangelo was. At that point, Michelangelo was just a turtle from TMNT for me. And I was so excited about having history class for the first time that I read the entire book for my 2nd grade history class even before the school year started. And if I remember right, chapter 3 of that book was on ancient Rome. And in that book, I read the story about how Remus and Romulus, the 2 brothers, according to Roman mythology, were raised by a she-wolf. And then later on, for some reason, one of them killed the other one and founded the city of Rome. I don't know how old I was when I realized that this was just mythology and no one actually was raised by a she-wolf. I was pretty disappointed. But that was one of the main reasons I was super excited about visiting this museum, was that statue of Remus and Romulus being breastfed by a she-wolf. That was in my history book from 2nd grade. So I went inside the museum, super pumped about seeing this statue, and I think it's called the Wolf of Rome. As I was wandering through the museums, checking out giant statues of Constantine and all this other cool stuff, I came across this vase. The really cool thing was that there was a picture of this vase in that same 2nd grade history book that I pretty much memorized when I was 8 years old. And I was so excited to see that. I know this sounds kind of stupid, it's just a vase, but for me that was really special that I got to see something that I really liked when I was 8 or 9 years old. Hello again. So this is 8:22 p.m. right now. And initially my plan was to watch the sunset at the Spanish Steps, but I went back to the hostel around 6 p.m. to take a little break, and there was free sangria at our hostel between 7 and 8, so I ended up staying there a little bit longer, having a few glasses of wine. The next thing I know, it's 8 p.m. and I don't have time to go to the Spanish Steps. But one of the things that I promised myself I would try my best to do is for this 3-month trip in Europe, I try to spend every sunset outside. So this is me making my best effort at going outside at 8:22 p.m. and watching the sunset. I can't really see the sun right now, if you can't tell, but I do see the last traces of daylight. And I walked 5 minutes from my hostel to come to this place, which I believe is called Basilica Santa Maria. And I just wanted to finish the vlog for the day. You can do a lot in Rome in one day, mainly because everything is so close to each other. It's really a walking city. Real quick pointers on if you're visiting Rome. First thing, definitely go somewhere in the morning if you can. The best time to go would be really early in the morning, like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. around sunrise when you get the best light. But if you can't do that, it's fine to go at 9 a.m. I went to the Pantehon yesterday and it was so crowded I barely had any space to stand. Today I went to the same place before 9 a.m. before I had to go to the free roam bike tour, and it was virtually empty. It's so much easier to enjoy a place when you don't have to worry about a mob of tourists bumping into you. I would also say reserve tickets in advance for the Colosseum and for the Vatican. For the Colosseum, if you're already here in Rome and you don't have a ticket reserved in advance, there's another way to get around it. When you buy a ticket for the Colosseum, you buy it for both the Colosseum and the Rome Forum. But the line is so much longer for the Colosseum than it is for the Forum, so I advise getting your ticket at the Forum and then using that same ticket to go into the Colosseum. The best thing, honestly, I would say is to spend an extra €2 and just book a ticket in advance so you don't have to worry about anything at all. How are you doing?
Okay.
Pretty good.
Where you come from?
Bangladesh, where are you from?
Senegal.
Senegal?
Yeah.
You have a good football team.
Yeah,
You went to the World Cup, yeah.
But where do you live?
Video? Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Let me see if I can focus in on you. What's your name?
Okay, hello.
Hi.
How are you? Good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, we make some video.
Yeah, basically. What's your name?
You are nice, Papi.
Papi?
Yeah.
Like P-A-P-I, Papi?
Yeah, PVPI.
Nice to meet you, Papi. You're in the camera. All right. Want to go back to making the video? Nadir? Nice to meet you. No. I have no money.
If you.
Free?
Yeah, man. We are together, but I
Bro, that's awesome. Thank you, Papi. Nice to meet you. All right. You have a good one, bro.
And you too. Yeah, there, no?
All right. Have a good one. That's so cool. I just met this guy from Senegal who gave me a free bracelet. That was really nice of him. That's so cool. Yeah, you get... The weird thing is there are a lot of Bangladeshis in Rome, which I was not expecting at all, and most of them are working on the streets. So it was really nice to get like helpful advice from random Bangladeshis on the street just because I spoke their language. And when you're a Bangladeshi, you know if someone's a Bangladeshi just if you look at them. So that was really nice. But that's probably not the case for you if you're visiting Rome, because there are not a lot of people from Bangladesh visit Rome. I don't think I know anyone else that's ever been to Rome. I'm sure my friends of friends have done it, but I personally don't know another Bangladeshi that's ever been to Rome. But I'm digressing. Back to visiting Rome. For the Vatican, you definitely need to book that in advance for €4, otherwise you'll be spending half a day in line. Now if you're fine with doing that, that's okay. But if it's raining like it is going to be tomorrow when I go to the Vatican, then that's going to be a pain in the butt. You don't want to go through that. That's it for this vlog. If you like this video, don't forget to like the video or put a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see similar videos from Europe, a lot from Central America because that's usually where I travel, and also from parts of Asia because I go there like once a year or something like that. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good one. I'll see you guys next week or whenever my next video